All right, guys, let's go ahead and dive in. So first and foremost, welcome to our presentation tonight on Texas new construction investment opportunities. Keen and I are really excited to discuss the Texas market and go over some opportunities we have out there right now. So without further ado, let's dive in. So I see a lot of familiar faces on the call this evening. So a lot of you I know personally, but for those I haven't had the chance to meet, my name's Rachel. I am an advisor here at Marshall Reddick. I've been with the company for a while now, but my husband and I actually started as investors ourselves back in 2012. So crazy, coming up on a decade already. I got my BA from Vanguard University in Southern California, and we own multiple investment properties that we've purchased through Marshall Reddick. Obviously a licensed California realtor there. And on a personal note, I have two little boys, ages 2 and 4. So they keep me busy on my toes and keep my coffee habit strong. So when I have clients call and want to talk about Marshall Reddick, they ask a lot of times, what exactly do you guys do? And there's three main facets to our business itself. First and foremost, we started as a real estate brokerage firm. So we help our clients buy and sell property, both as their primary residences, and also a lot of our clients utilize us for investment property as well. So for anybody purchasing an investment property, they need a property manager to take care of that property for them and overlook every part of the property management process. So that is another branch of Marshall Reddick. And last but not least, we're also a private money lender. So on that platform, we help investors invest in these loans by funding mortgages for clients, anything from fix and flip to, any of these private money, hard money loans, self-directed IRA, spec, construction, all sorts of private money loans. And then, yeah, so our investors invest on one side, and then we have borrowers on the other side of the transaction as well, who come to us for financing on these different types of properties. So we have clients that do all three. We have clients that just do brokerage or, property management as well. So a little bit of something for everybody depending on what you're looking for. So our markets, we have teams in 16 different major metropolitan markets across the US, but you can see the highlighted boxes in green are our primary markets. So we were founded in Southern California, but we have teams across the country in many other major metropolitan markets, including Central Texas, which we're going to be highlighting tonight. So where do we choose? A lot of our clients ask, how do you pick the markets you're in? We've been in business for over 4 decades, and across that time, we have sold property in over 200 cities. So we've really dialed in and found out what doesn't work and what really works. So what we have found to be our recipe for success for these markets is, number one, we want a strong job market in the area that we have these properties. Number two, we're looking for really low vacancy rates. That's very important. Obviously, as an investor, you want to make sure you have stable, dependable rental income coming in there. Number three, we're looking for economic diversity. It's really important to not be too dependent on one specific industry. So all the Marshall Reddick preferred markets have a very strong, diverse economic job base as well, or economic base rather. Housing affordability is a big factor. That's why a lot of our clients from major metropolitan areas in Southern California or New York, Seattle, things like that, are looking to invest in markets that would be a little more affordable as well, such as Central Texas. Is it landlord friendly? That is a big one, especially with everything we've seen over the last couple of years. You want to make sure that you're putting your money to work in a market where the laws are in favor of landlords. There's a lot more flexibility we have in a market like that to make sure that we're advocating on behalf of our landlords and have all the tools lined up in the unlikely event that we ever needed to use them. We want to make sure we're in a very landlord friendly market. Strong education, that's really important as well for our tenant base. And then reliable property management. That is huge. That's make or break. That is why Marshall Reddick actually got into property management. There's so many not reliable ones out there that we wanted to make sure we came in and we really set the industry standard for that and went above and beyond. We have a lot stricter tenant placement standards, and because of that, we, even in the height of COVID, had next to nothing with delinquency rates. So by taking the extra time on the front end of the process to truly vet tenants and provide the best property management experience, it holistically approaches things in a very favorable way to everyone involved in the transaction. So those combined facets are how we determine the best markets and how it's brought us to where we are today. So these are kind of some fun snapshots of our San Antonio team. You can see Kian on the bottom left. I think that was at their Thanksgiving potluck, but this team has really exploded. They're up to 30 people now. They're one of the largest Marshall Reddick teams in the country and just thriving. There's so much opportunity in Central Texas, as we're about to get into with Kian's presentation. So we just have a wonderful team out there, and all of our teams work together day in and day out. So even our California team's working with our Texan partners all day, every day. Even though we might be in a different market, we're still Marshall Reddick and very much incorporated together. So just some fun shots of that team. All right. And now it is my pleasure to introduce you to Mr. Kian Oros. Kian and I have been working closely together for a long time. We've done a large volume of transactions helping clients secure their perfect investment properties in Central Texas. And he is an area expert. He knows this market like the back of his hand. And I love working with Kian because of his leasing background. He knows not only the city, but even down to the neighborhoods extremely well. So I'm really excited for you guys to be able to pick Kian's brain tonight. And with that, I'll hand it over to you, Kian.
Thank you so much, Rachel, and thank you all for coming today and giving us a chance to speak about our market with you guys. Like Rachel said, I'm a licensed Texas realtor. I've lived locally in the area my whole life. I have roots pretty much in every major Texas city. So I grew up in New Braunfels, Texas. So we'll get into a little bit about these areas in a bit. But New Braunfels is nestled in between Austin and San Antonio. I now live and, of course, work in San Antonio, and that's where, of course, my own money is with my primary property, and I also own land here. I also have family in Houston, and Rachel actually, coincidentally, just moved to Houston, is working on her license here, so that's great. We're so happy to have her. And then I also spent a certain amount of my childhood in Dallas. So I really love this state. I especially love Central Texas. There's so many great things about this area. I've been with Marshall Reddick almost about 4 years now. I started out as a leasing agent. As Rachel mentioned, our office has just exploded. When I came on, there was about 3 employees here, and we were just starting in a small suite. And so quickly, with our market's growth and just our tremendous property management team and realtors, we've amassed to 26 employees, 12 agents, and 13 property management staff. And we just bought a new office, and it's really great. But my roots were starting in leasing our properties here, and that gave me really good insight in how properties, different types of properties lease that will go over new construction versus pre-owned, A class, B class, C class, different areas. Like Rachel mentioned, there really is an area of Central Texas I haven't sold or leased in, so I have pretty good predictability of how your investment is going to pan out. And so that's really useful knowledge that's helped me succeed in sales. So eventually I did move on to help many investors like yourself move to build their wealth portfolio in Central Texas. This year in particular, I've contracted and sold about 75 properties. This has, I'm sure, as you guys may have noticed in the news, has been one of the hardest year for buyers. Very scarce inventory across all boards. But the good thing is that, we have a lot of inventory in-house. We have a lot of connections, builder connections. All of these things are great opportunities for our clients that we share. And because of that, we've been able to get many properties under contract and make a lot of, appreciation for our clients this year. So as Rachel mentioned, we all are a full service brokerage and management company. So we take everything over from start to finish. When you're initially connected with me, we have a full-on consult where we really identify everything you're looking for. And throughout the whole sales process, I have a team, transaction coordinator, co-agents, to really make sure you have the white glove experience and we get you everything that you want and are comfortable with for our market. And then we completely move over to property management. And because we're all in-house and we're all under the same roof here, it really provides a good sense of security for our clients. If we promise you rents during the sales process, we pitch certain properties to you, we don't just say sayonara after you close. We're here a part of the same company, all making it work. So that's really important when you're purchasing properties out of state. You put a lot of trust in other people. And unfortunately, real estate, like many industries out there, is full of shady practices. And so we've really amassed great reviews, great clientele. We have about 900 properties under management. And that, doesn't happen coincidentally. It's definitely hard work, determination, and really performing for our clients. So it is a one-stop shop from start to finish. And so we really take care of everything. So here's a bit of our fee structure. We'll send this to everybody afterwards, but it's also on our website. So this is for Texas. As you can see, we do have a 50% leasing fee. This pretty much covers for us to lease the property on your behalf. We have a full leasing team. So like we have a sales team, a property management team. We also have a leasing team of agents that just lease properties. And they really help minimize your vacancy, give you weekly communication. So it's well worth the cost, and we have pretty stringent requirements. And we do that because we really want to ensure that we get you a tenant that stays long term. So things like 600 credit score and up, 3 times the written income. We have certain pet policies. We look for their past history with other landlords. So we're very thorough about the tenants that we choose in the leasing team that we have here to really make sure that that amount is well worth it, because we want a tenant that stays there, pays on time, and maybe renews year after year after year. Our percentiles for our management fee are below. So you can see single family home 8%. We have 2 to 4 units. So these are duplexes, fourplexes, and triplexes at 7. And anything beyond that is 6. We do for bigger unit buildings, 16 to 29 is 5. And anything 30 plus over is 4. And we do have experience across all these boards of these different multifamily and single family home options, managing them all across Central Texas. So we're very familiar with any type of property that you're looking to invest in. So what does my property manager actually do to earn their monthly fee? So property management is kind of like adult daycare. So there is a lot of details and finding the tenants. And, if you have even a new construction property, a lot of people always come to me and say, well, what's the point of me getting a property manager if it's new construction? It's already turnkey, there's nothing wrong. And dealing with warrant, things do happen with new construction properties. And we do have to deal with warranties, and we do have to really make sure that the tenant moves in, everything's complete. When those things come up, we have to act accordingly and quick. And any property comes with its things, and whether it's covered or not in a warranty, we have to respond to those things quickly to make sure your tenant is comfortable, that they're completely paying on time, and that there's nothing wrong with the property. So those constant requests from tenants definitely is worth the 7-8%. That is well below the market here. Most companies, as you may shop around in San Antonio, are about 10% and up. And like I mentioned, screening the applicants is a big part of that process. We really want to make sure our default rate is pretty low. In San Antonio, it's usually well below, anywhere from 2 to 4%. Even at the height of COVID, we really were diligent in making sure that tenants paid on time. And again, we have a full staff of 13 people, tenant coordinators, maintenance coordinators, owner coordinators, people to get on the phone and speak with you about intimate details of your property, And then we have an accountant as well for any statements that you may need. So all of that is well worth 7 or 8%. And we have tons of employees. Rachel in particular, she's an investor, and she has Marshall Reddick management. So it's a given to go with a good property manager, especially a full staff. You don't want to go cheap on property management. It's just not worth it. You know, there's always moms and pops out there that are going to be maybe 3, 4, 5% or a set, you know, $50. And, you know, if those people go on vacation, if they get sick and something goes wrong with your property, you know, that can be very detrimental. So you really want to make sure you have a full service team that's constantly there to assist with really anything matters with your property. So here you can see the stats of San Antonio. This is the historical data from last year all the way to 1996. So you can see the appreciation on average year after year. San Antonio and Central Texas has performed. We only had 2 years. We had a very slight negative for appreciation, and that was the 2008-9 crash. And as you could probably look at other real estate markets that we're in, you more often see green, red, green, red, green, red, and a lot of market cycles for properties. And a lot of people's biggest concern right now is with a lot of the heavy growth and inflation the last 18 months, how that would be affected here. And there's no way that you can time the market, and there's no promises in terms of appreciation, but all you can look at is the stats and how they performed the last 20, 30 years. And so when you're putting your money in any market, you have to go back and look how the market has lasted through the worst events that we've had throughout these decades. So as you can see, even the worst of times, we almost had a break-even year of 2008 and a very slight negative of 2009, and that was a full real estate market crash. So you can really ensure that there's a steady growth here in San Antonio. A lot of that has to do with our strong military tenant base and very affordability or affordable housing market here. So we'll get that here in the next few slides. But this is some of the major areas around San Antonio. We'll go through a few of these examples. So you can see we have on the north side, we have UTSA. This is a big, of course, college university here in San Antonio. Around this north side area, we have Six Flags Fiesta Texas and SeaWorld, great amenities for the kids and family. Like I mentioned, one of the big things about San Antonio is its military base. It is actually the biggest military population of any city in most bases of any city. So with that said, a lot of our tenants are military, and that happens to be a great thing, because when we're looking at, of course, like big historical events or markets shifting buyer, seller, it's good to have steady income. And there's no better steady income like government pay. So that's a lot of our tenants here. And because of that, prices have really, affordability has stayed pretty calm, and our tenants have been paying on time. So these other markets that have, different bases, whether it's tech or maybe it's more blue collar work, the profile may be different, but here it is a large government worker base. So this is our units under management. Like I said, we've grown a lot over the last few years. I think when I started here, we had a little bit over 100 units under management. In that 3 or 4 year time, we're almost to about 1,000. This, as it is right now, is close to 900. Much of our properties being under management in San Antonio. But as I mentioned earlier, New Braunfels is a very big up and coming area. That is where I grew up. It is nestled kind of in between San Antonio and Austin, so it's about, I would say 25 to 30 minutes from San Antonio, about 45 minutes to an hour to Austin. So that proximity is gold, because as those two markets expand, the great thing about New Braunfels is its tax rate is a little bit lower. And with Austin being so much tech-based, a lot of people don't have to go into the workplace anymore. They can work from home. So a lot of these suburbs around Austin have blown up significantly, and New Braunfels being so close to San Antonio, you always have the proximity of people being able to commute to the military bases. So New Braunfels has also been a big hotspot for a lot of properties we have under management. And luckily, we do have one opportunity there today, so I will share a little bit about that later. And then we do have Seguin that a lot of our new communities are in. Seguin has blown up recently, and we'll get into a little bit of the details about that. So Seguin is a little bit under New Braunfels. It's about 20 minutes from New Braunfels, 30 minutes from San Antonio, and about an hour from Austin. It is about 2.5 hours to 3 hours from Houston. So it is also close in the mix of a lot of big metropolitan areas, and it's the most affordable out of any of the cities that we're in. So San Antonio, New Braunfels, Austin, Houston, even Dallas, Seguin wins on affordability, both for purchase and for rents. So because of that, we have a lot of inventory there, and we've had a lot of success with the appreciation over the last few years. So this is a couple of the big industries and big employers in Seguin. I can speak to, of course, very accurately San Antonio, New Braunfels, and Austin, and what's in those cities, but not a lot of people know exactly what is nestled in Seguin and what Seguin's about. Seguin has become really big on manufacturing and a lot of blue collar work. So you can see the main employers are Caterpillar, Bitsco, of course the ISD, CMC Steel, and some others as well. And we have more and more companies moving in every year. Land is cheaper out there, and it's close enough proximity to where they have a huge base of workers that can commute to work from Seguin. So a lot of companies have really nestled in these areas over the years, and it's expanded greatly. And we've seen huge tenant demand. Recently, we had closed out on one of our duplex developments, and about halfway through the summer, we completely leased out all the units we had. This was at least 50 plus units that we had, all of them unavailable, and we had to start to make wait lists for tenants to get properties there. And that's still kind of a hot rental market right now. We're still seeing multiple applications on many of the properties we have. The Seguin population, and this is also pretty true for New Braunfels as well, has increased 22%. It's, tons of people have moved to this area again as it's kind of in the mix of a lot of bigger metropolitan areas, and it's cheaper. Many people have preferred to move to these either to rent or to buy and commute out to these other areas that have become more expensive, especially that of Austin, where average home prices are close to about $500,000 at this point. So here you can see the cost of living index in some of the major cities in Texas. So as you can see, Dallas leads in the worst cost of living, or I guess you can say the highest cost of living. Houston being next, Houston being the largest population. That's not too surprising. Austin's figure has probably increased greatly just in the last 18 months. I think these are figures from 2020. So 98.5 seems like pretty conservative from what it is now. But because of a lot of Silicon Valley moving in, I would bet that Austin is well above 100 at this point. New Braunfels, San Antonio, and Seguin are on the lower end, and again, Seguin being the lowest cost of living. And this is important, especially if you're talking about where you want to invest your capital, get the most for your capital. You want to invest in areas where the housing is affordable, it has good rental demand. That really helps for cash flow, and it helps you buy more property quicker. So you're just going to get more bang for your buck in areas like San Antonio, Seguin, and New Braunfels rather than Dallas, Houston, and Austin. Even though these areas have huge demand, their rents can't always quite keep up with the purchase prices. And for that reason, it's very hard to make the numbers work there like they used to about 10 years ago. So we have a free market book for you guys that will, it's on our website, but I believe this information will be sent to you after. So it goes over a little bit more of the key details of major areas in New Braunfels and Seguin, what makes these areas unique. I know a lot of you may have some basis of knowledge for San Antonio and Austin. Those are more familiar metropolitans, but this book is a good read if you're looking to get more of a feel for what is special about these areas. This is just a brief slide about a lot of the new construction that has moved in to Seguin. just to show you guys kind of a visualizer of how many different big developers, both duplex and single family, have moved in over the last year and a half. So you can see about 10,000 residential units added. And these are the figures from last year, so it's increased since then. And Seguin is very early in its growth. So I like to reference kind of New Braunfels as like the big brother, and Seguin is the little brother. So it's probably about 5 years behind the growth of where New Braunfels is at right now. Average home prices are about middle 200s, where New Braunfels is about early 300s to late 200s at this point. But there's still a lot of area for development. We do have a lot of options here today. So this is the first option. I just want to start off, this is a new construction seminar, so all of these options are newer, and we'll get into some of the details and benefits of that. This is a single family home in Converse, and this is, of course, a sub-city of San Antonio. And this one just recently closed, has already been leased out, is available for sale. So we'll get into a few of the stats here. If you guys have ever been to our website before, this is how a lot of the profiles will look when we're going through opportunities. So you can see here it has nice finishes, full sod, it has carpet upstairs, and then it has granite countertops, full kitchen appliances. This one is leased out at $16.95. This does come with a 10-year builder warranty. It comes with 10-year structural, 1-year appliance, 5-year water, plumbing, and electrical. So you have a huge coverage for 5 to 10 years on these types of properties, and that helps a lot with your cash flow and kind of the predictability of your numbers. The lower the class of the property, the more unpredictability there is. You don't know, the true history of the property until you really own it for several years. There's really only so much an inspector's going to see in the span of an hour or two, versus when you really are owning it for several months. So there's just a lot of more predictability again in properties like these. And numbers usually aren't as favorable because there's a premium on new construction, but that's where it gets a little bit deceiving, because you can see many properties that are 10, 20, 30 years old, figures looking way much better because these are cheaper homes. But what you don't really always account in is the variable expenses, the things that can go wrong over time. So this one has very good schools. We'll pull up the map briefly here. This one is really close to Randolph Air Force Base. So this is kind of right in the mix of San Antonio, about 30 minutes from Seguin and about 40 minutes from New Braunfels. We zoom in a little bit more here. You can see that it is very close to Randolph Air Force Base. It is about a 15-minute drive. And that is a big chunk of the tenants that we have in this community. We have now in Savannah Place, this is a community by LGI. The neighborhood is called Savannah Place. We do have about 5 to 6 properties under management right now, all leased out. And this one, again, would not have any leasing time whatsoever because we do already have a tenant in it for the next year. We also do have a big commercial hotspot called The Forum. This is home to Costco, IKEA, Target. That's only about 20 minutes away. So a lot of development is happening out here, as a lot of much of these subsidies are landlocked in Converse. But the main things in a desirable area is close proximity to workplaces, amenities, commercial, and decent schools. This all brings about the best tenants and the most demand. So if we're going down here, you can see a lot of the stats that we already kind of went over. This factor right here is showing you kind of total out of pocket for a 25% down. With closing costs for a purchase like this, you're looking close to $75,000, $76,000. When we're going to cash flow, we go to this section right here, and you can see based on the rents, what kind of cash flow you're getting. So with 25% down, you're about $130. So when we take your fixed expenses, these are expenses that are not going to change. So these are your monthly responsibilities. These are your taxes, your insurance, HOA. So we factor in all those things, even your property management. And that minus the rents is this amount that you'll be left with. So this is your best case scenario number. When we take variable expenses, so not a lot of real estate professionals take these into account when they're sharing with you cash flow. But we have to take into account how often is it going to go vacant, how quickly are we going to rent it out. Based on that, you can expect every year conservatively we should estimate a leasing fee, and then maintenance based on how old the property is, how much maintenance is it going to have to be done in the first 5 years. So when we couple all these stats here of things that you should save, and I would call these rainy day expenses, you're left with this number. So this is total expenses. This is all your fixed responsibilities plus all of your variable expenses. So this is the worst number that you can end up with. So for this new construction, 25% down, worst is you would be in about -50. If we look here, -50, the leasing fee is about 47. So if you kind of mentally put in your head with this property, the worst case scenario is that you're going to probably having to pay the leasing fee out of pocket. But for a new A-class property, very predictable, very low maintenance, you can more so expect closer to this number than this number. But the lower the class is, the more you can expect it to be more of this number. So you should always kind of balance in between both for what you should expect the cash flow to be, but based on the property, it'll flow closer to one side or the other. So for this one, it'll float closer to 132. And then we have some more figures based on how long you're going to hold it, what your total projected profit will be based on your numbers. So we'll be sending these links afterwards if you guys are interested. These are real life examples. All of these are properties in-house. So no really crazy bidding wars, no having to jump through hoops of other agents. These are properties that, of course, we're pretty much selling. So if you are interested, we'll send you the info afterwards, and we're happy to connect with you and go over the next steps. But you'll be able to visualize all these stats. So this is the next property. This is one in New Braunfels, Texas. This is one of my favorites. Again, I guess I'm a little bit biased because I grew up there. But this is a product that you'll probably become pretty familiar with. This is 210 Communities. So this is a builder that we've helped with for many years in several developments in Central Texas. This was one about 3 to 4 years ago in New Braunfels. So this is technically pre-owned, but it is very new, and there is warranty still in place for the structure. So that is great, and it's also fully occupied. This one has been actively managed by Marshall Reddick. So that means that we place the tenants, which is great because we are very thorough about the way that we place. And as you can see here, it's a very well put together property, front brick, 2-car garage, lots of space. So this is about 1,400 square feet. Granite countertops, kitchen appliances. You have indoor laundry, 2 bathrooms, 3 bedrooms, and you do have the backyard porch area. These are in very high demand, especially as New Braunfels has grown significantly. Let's pull it up here. So as you can see, this is New Braunfels. It's very close to Central. 35, which is what goes directly through New Braunfels, goes from San Antonio to New Braunfels, San Marcos, all the way to Austin, in Georgetown, if you're familiar, to Waco, all the way to Dallas. So I would like to call it the main artery of Central Texas. It's very important, I think, and a huge opportunity to invest anywhere along 35. The one that we mentioned previously wasn't too far of a stretch from that, but this one is a little bit closer. Because of that, you're close proximity to all these things, and we're talking about huge demand and people being able to drive north, south, east, west to a lot of these bigger areas. Super important. So this is in New Braunfels. A lot of little special things about New Braunfels is its amenities. It's a very fun city. It's actually a German town. So here in the next 2 months, we're going to have what's called Horse Fest. And then we also have 2 rivers that run throughout the city, the Guadalupe and the Comal. A big tourist season where people come and tube on the river. And then we have Schlitterbahn water parks. As you can see, there's 3 big water parks throughout the city. It's very fun for the kids during the summer. So there's just a lot to do for the family, and the schools are rated pretty well. likewise, and the tax rate is much lower. So you're just getting a lot of what people look for in the big city, but getting it all here in a little bit of a smaller condensed version. And it's definitely more affordable, and because of that, people really like it. We have huge rental demand there because we just don't have enough properties for these people. I don't care really what year it's been. We've always seen properties in New Braunfels lease in under a month, but more frequently in the last 18 months, it's been more like 2 to 3 weeks. Some of them having, bidding wars for rents, which is not too common, but has become a thing in New Braunfels. We've seen, rental rates increase so heavily there. So this one is again, property that we have. This is 449.5. This is from 2016, 3-bed, 2-bath. If we look at the cash flow numbers on this one, the margins are actually very good. So they are cash flow positive for both total, again, that's worst case scenario, and fixed, which is best case scenario. And you can expect a little bit more maintenance. So we bumped up the percentiles on this one because it is 4 years old rather than say, 1 year old. But this one is still a great opportunity. I would say there's a little bit of higher demand for this area. And it's a duplex, so you're getting 2 rents, which is always a great thing. This property does have current leases in place, and the renewal for this area is looking about $1,500. So right now, as they are, I believe these properties are rented at about $1,400 a piece. I have to look at the breakdown real quick, but again, a lot of what New Braunfels is trending towards is $1,500 to $1,550 for these duplexes. So just even within a year of holding it, you can see these margins increase massively. So that's another opportunity here that we have in New Braunfels. I wanted to share some really in each community to give you guys a feel of real life examples that we have currently. So this is our New Braunfels one. The next one we have is Jefferson Place. This is actually a community, upcoming community in Seguin. So we've had a lot of communities in the past. We do have one coming on the way. Actually 2 coming on the way, one sooner than later. This is the next one. It's a little bit different from the one that I just showed you. So these ones that you see here, they have the garages. This one is a little bit bigger on the square feet, but it doesn't have the garages. A little bit of a look of what these look like finished, so you can get a feel for it. This is one that we closed on with this builder at the beginning of the year. So they usually have about 2 to 3 parking spaces, xeriscaping in the front. Look very modern, very spacious. They do rent a little bit lower, but you're saving about 30 to 40,000 on the purchase price. So your margins usually are a little bit better on something like this. These fully will be available come this winter. We do have the model home that we're selling right now that's coming up first. Kind of how that works is we'll rent out one side and the builder will rent back the other side to have as a model home. So you will make 2 rents. This one is in construction and actually closing this year. So this will close end of October, early November. It'll be the first one in that set. And we're very excited to have this product. It'll be starting at $415. And the projected rents for this area and what we've been consistently getting is $1,450 for each. So with those numbers, this is tentatively what you're looking for the cash flow. So as you can see, these are a lot bigger than the other 2. We're looking at 626. And we can actually adjust these downwards a little bit because these are brand new. So we're looking at really high margins for something like this. This is about $620 almost best case scenario, and $300 worst case scenario. I think that's a beautiful worst case scenario number. But again, it's going to be closer to that 600 because it's A-class and it's newer, and it's in a pretty high demand area. Because this street isn't built yet, it doesn't show it really correctly on the map. Let me give you a visualizer. This is Seguin, and we had already spoken a little bit about what is special about Seguin. But if we close up here, you can see Texas Lutheran University, very prestigious, I would say A-class university that's pretty much right down the road. We do have professors, researchers, occasionally students, and you may think, well, I don't want a student tenant, but we do allow student tenants if their parents are on the lease and they fit the requirements. We do not let huge roommate situations, but we do get a few tenants both from professors and students nearby. And then of course, a lot of the blue collar work hubs that I was speaking about earlier. So Jefferson Avenue is where this community is on. And as you can see, it's very close to the park, Texas Lutheran, and then a lot of the things downtown. So they have a big public library. They have a lot of different restaurants, hotels, and then they have a thing called ZVTs. It's a big kind of amusement park for kids. There's a lot of things nearby this development, and that's great. That really helps with desirability, and it's great, even greater, that the cash flow margins are so good on this one. So this is the next opportunity, and we'll get to the last one here. So the last one we have for you guys is Knox Ridge Luxury Duplexes in Converse. So this is the same subsidy in San Antonio from the first single family home I shared with you guys. As you can see, I told you to get familiar with it. This is a product that we sell very frequently throughout Central Texas. They make some slight adjustments as time goes along, but very much usually the same floor plan, same feel. We have really huge demand for it and growth. These usually, when I started, they were going close for low 300s. Now we're at about 450. So you can see in a small amount of time, many of our owners have made 100, 200,000 just in the span of 3 or 4 years. So if every year, like, the cash flow margins aren't good enough, when you're breaking that down year by year, these owners are making 40, 50, 60,000 a year in appreciation. So if the cash flow is break even or positive, I'd take that any day. To make an extra, whatever your income is great. If you can make passively in appreciation anywhere close to that amount, I think that's stellar. And really interesting thing is we have a lot of these communities throughout all of Central Texas. Let me just get back to the map here. One of the ones that we have the furthest north to Austin is in Buda. And the most recent one that we resold went for $570. Same product. I'm showing you the same thing. It's in Buda. It's down here in San Antonio. And I was mentioning kind of big brothers, little brother scenario. Austin is like the biggest brother, so it's very telling of where the market will be in a lot of these southern regions of New Braunfels, Seguin, and San Antonio, wherever Austin is right now, because that bleed over usually comes in the next few years. So Austin is middle 500s for this duplex right now. New Braunfels is on that trajectory next. San Antonio and Seguin are not far after. So even if these 451 seems high, I promise you, just this one closed about a week ago in Buda, 571. So it's not too far off, you guys, from being right there. And if that's in the span of 2 or 3 years, that's already 100,000 in appreciation by that point. So this is the final one. This is an example property. We currently will have, we're sold out of everything in Knox Ridge right now, but we have another set of 10 addresses coming in the next few days. So if you are interested, just let me know. These are completely brand new, same builder warranty. We'll go through some of the slides here. So 10-year builder warranty, full sod sprinkler system, really great communities, front brick. We have the stained concrete. It's a very low maintenance, and that's why a lot of these builders opt for this. It has a nice feel to it, and as you can see with the furniture and the styling, all the tenants like it. It looks pretty good, and they do completely seal it, so it's not rough concrete that you would think about in your garage. Granite countertops, stainless steel appliances. All of these properties are up to code as well, both for building codes and Texas rental codes, so they're immediately ready to lease once we close. You have ceiling fans. That's pretty rare for a lot of new construction, at least single family homes. Those are already in the properties. But if you want to look at the figures here, these start in the 450 range. And because the proximity, this one's right across the street from Randolph. It's a little bit closer into Converse than the other one, the first property I mentioned. So close to all the same things, but just closer. You can see right here, here is the actually the development, again, not yet built, so it's not coming correctly on the map. It's right here, and Randolph is right here. So it's about a 5 to 10 minute drive to the big base right there. And to the Forum Shopping Center, it's about 10 to 15 minutes. And again, you can see the schools here a little bit better. You have a lot of the close base schools. A lot of the schools around the bases are rated really well. So this is the cash flow for this property. With the builder warranties, with the lower maintenance, you can see you have pretty good margins. I think this comes in third place under the Seguin one. But you know, this one having the garages does heighten the rentability a little bit more. So you can probably say that this one would lease a little bit faster. And just with the full brick look, the luxury feel, it's probably going to appreciate a little bit higher, but the cash flow margins are a little bit less. So we're looking at 517 fixed, again, best case scenario, and about 59 worst case scenario. What these would typically cost with the 30% down, you're looking about 145. These tentatively, the next set of 10 addresses are closing in March and April. So these will be a little bit further out. Jefferson Place, like I said, we have the one model home closing this year. The rest will be in March and April. So will these. The other two that I mentioned, Joanne Cove, this is the pre-owned. This can close in the next month. And same with Citron Garden. So this is the single family home in Converse. So those were a few options for you guys. I want to get you a feel for really what it's like working with me and the opportunities that we have at Marshall Reddick. Again, if you have any questions, we're going to send you all of this afterwards, probably either later this evening or in the morning. But if you need anything, you can always reach out to me or Rachel. But I'll hand it off to you, Rachel, to finish off.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kian. That was super helpful. And you guys definitely take advantage of the calculator that's listed on the bottom of all of those properties. You'll see that on our website. It's a really unique feature. You're able to crunch the numbers. You can be as conservative or aggressive with that as you like. Marshall Reddick is really big on being very conservative with our estimates. We like to under promise and over deliver. Kian kind of touched on that with the newer properties. You can expect on the lower end for maintenance and things like that. So we always just like to include a fair estimate down the line just to plan for a rainy day fund, but just something to keep in mind. That's a big advantage with going with a newer build. You can get higher rents, lower maintenance, all of that. So just things to keep in mind, definitely. Okay, so what can you expect from a consultation with an advisor? So when people reach out to Marshall Reddick, they're a new investor, they want to learn more. The first step would be to work with an advisor like myself. So essentially think of me like, if you're a football fan, like your quarterback, if not like your concierge. So we sit down and get to know each other. I find out your long-term goals. And then from there, I help direct you to my partners in the different markets throughout the company. Like I said earlier in the call, you know, I work with my teammates all day, every day in all of our different markets. So yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. We'll sit down and go over your goals, decide the different ways you can get to those goals, how aggressively you want to approach them, or your time frame. So when decide on a time frame. There's no right or wrong answer to this. I have clients who are very new to real estate investing and wanting to scale their portfolio quickly and are purchasing multiple properties with Kian at the same time. I have additional clients who are a little more conservative or take a little bit longer to get the funds set aside to be able to purchase the next property, but they set a time frame and a goal of purchasing the property, say once every year, every couple years. A general rule of thumb recipe we say at Marshall Reddick is 5 to 7 properties over 5 to 7 years. So Kian and I have a wide variety of different types of clients from all different backgrounds, and you know, they all formulate their plan based on what works best for them and their family. So what will set your criteria? Tonight we went over some really good examples of new builds and what you can expect with that. We have a great resource on our website. If you guys haven't gone through it, our CEO wrote it. It's a quick, like 30-minute read. If you search property rating ebook, that's a really good resource to go through and kind of review the different property classes and what you can expect out of each one. A lot of our clients, upon reading that, lean more toward new builds or newer builds because of the factors the book addresses, but that's just a good thing to kind of review and go through if you're not familiar with that yourself. Where identifying your markets, like we said at the beginning, Marshall Reddick is in 16 different markets, but Texas, year after year is definitely a very popular option. I would say the vast majority of the volume on many months that I sell is in Texas. Many of those properties with Kian. Our clients just really love what's happening there. As Kian said, he and I are both investors there ourselves. So we're putting our money where our mouth is. I have a fourplex in this market as well, and I'm also a property management client there. We don't get employee discounts. So we we believe what we're sharing with you. It's something that's helped build our financial legacies for our families as employees too, and we're really passionate about it. So identifying where with the markets. That being said, a lot of my clients like to diversify too. So maybe we start in Texas and then down the line you can explore a different market if you want. That's the beauty of working with an advisor. It's at no cost to you, rather, but I can help connect you with the right partners in any of our markets. So, and last but not least, introducing you to all the key players. So obviously Kian, he's an amazing resource, has been extremely successful in what he does. And like he had mentioned at the beginning when he came on, this has been a really tough year for buyers, and yet he still already has, I believe, 75 properties that he's already contracted and or closed in this year, which is unheard of. That's an extremely amazing achievement, and also for our clients too. We've never, knock on wood, we haven't yet had a client we weren't able to get into a property that they loved when they were shopping and staying on top of their offers with Kian. So, that's kind of the process with working with an advisor. I will walk you through every step of the way. Like Kian said, we're here from A to Z, every step of the process. So we'll make sure we get you taken care of. And last but not least, I'll put up my info one more time. And this will come in the follow-up email tomorrow as well. If you want to rewatch, revisit any of these slides, look through any of the properties Kian was talking about, you'll have my info there. But I would love to chat with you if we haven't had a chance to meet yet. I'd be happy to review your goals with you, connect you with Kian, and we'll help you find the perfect property. Yeah, especially if you decide to go new builds. These are some great options. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for your time, Kian. Thank you for your time. We had a great time, and I always just love talking about this market. It's one that's it's a really exciting area going great places. So thank you guys so much for coming out tonight, and we'll definitely talk to you soon.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks, Kian. Have a good night, guys.